Good afternoon. I'm David Ritchie, and I'm going to take you on a short tour of my new model railroad that's under construction. This is the North Penn Mark II. We moved into this house about a year ago, and I started on the railroad in the spring during the COVID lockdown. At that time, I started on the main terminal entrance here, which you can see goes from 5 or 7 tracks in the terminal through a terminal throat, some fairly interesting track work which I had a good time building, and it comes out at the other end. The 2 tracks on the left are the branch to Chestnut Hill. The 2 tracks in the middle are the main line, and the track on the right is a short line down to the first branch. Here's the first junction. On the right hand side you can see track heading down underneath the main terminal towards a reversing loop, which comes back out here. I had originally planned to have the roundhouse and turntable next to the main terminal, but I decided that since this is supposed to be Reading Terminal in Philadelphia, that the engine house should not be so close. Instead, I'm moving it down to the other end, more like it was in Philadelphia, where the engine house and turntable were down at a lower level. This branch heading up the hill behind the terminal is what I'm going to call the Chestnut Hill branch, and in Philadelphia that heads up to the geographical highest point in the Philadelphia area. It goes across the Schuylkill River, where I'm going to have a set of bridges here. Then it heads up into the suburbs of, well, not actually the suburbs, the northern part of Philadelphia, to the Chestnut Hill station, which is at a slightly lower level than the street. I have not yet started on the trolley loop, which will begin here in Philadelphia and head down alongside the main tracks, down through Wayne Junction, where the trolleys actually go. It's going to cross the Port Richmond branch here and snake around past, yes, you got it, that is going to be a baseball field. It's going to be either Shibe Park or Connie Mack Stadium, as it was later known, or the Baker Bowl in North Philadelphia. And then the trolley line will, as in Philadelphia, snake up along through the Germantown section and will end up at the Chestnut Hill Terminal, the same place as the train line. Continuing along the main line north toward Jersey City, we have a junction here. Not exactly sure what I'm going to call it, but off to the right there's another branch, single track this time, heading down to its little initial terminal here, where the trains will shuttle back and forth. Back to the junction we have a flyover. The track on the left goes up and then we'll go over the 2 depressed tracks in the middle through that bridge, and then the 2 upper tracks will meet together here and they'll circle around. The 2 lower tracks in the back will head around here. After the flyover junction, the 2 upper tracks continue across the river. I think this will be the Delaware. And they go around past another station in the background. Then comes the staging yard, and then around a wide radius curve and into the opposite terminal, which is going to be Jersey City. This terminal was also reclaimed from my prior layout. This is the junction, actually I'm going to call it Wayne Junction for want of a better term. It will lead off to the right of the branch that goes down towards what I'm going to call Port Richmond. This is a section of my layout that was reclaimed from the prior version, and will have 3 tracks at the terminal in Port Richmond and another track here, which you can see is going to head off to a coal trestle over top of the river. The layout uses Digitrax DCC. The white box in the bottom is the command station. To its left is the PM42 for the power districts. The 3 white boxes in the middle are the auto reversers for the 3 reversing loops. On the right is the block detector module for the main line. I have 5 block detectors here, so we'll have 5 times 16 blocks. Back over in the Philadelphia area, we have control panels. The terminal throat at Philadelphia, the turnouts are controlled by a combination of tortoises and servos. Some of the turnouts are so closely spaced, for example here and here, that there wasn't room for tortoises underneath, so I've used servos. The servos are driven by Tam Valley quad PIC decoders. There's 5 quad decoders for the main turnouts, and this one up here, which is number 28 and 29, controls the points in the movable diamond, which you can see right there. These are the movable points at the center of the diamond. All the turnouts in the terminal throat are hand laid. The curved ones were built on site using simply drawing the center lines. The regular straight turnouts at this end are number 7s built on a fast track jig. The diamond crossing in the middle was rather difficult. It was difficult to build and difficult to get it work right. I finally resorted to having movable points in the center, which, as you can see, the points change so that the wheels do not derail while going through the center diamond. Those points are controlled by the Tam Valley quad up here. They are in turnouts numbers 25 and 26. And at the moment I have them controlled by these 2 panel controllers, which, as you can see, this is set for a route from lower left to upper right. If I reverse them, the points then would be set for the route from upper left to lower right, which, as you can see here, the route from upper left to lower right this would be an impossible route, which we have to figure out some way to lock the switches out so that that can't be done. They either have to be set that way or this way. I'll be happy to have any help for automating that. My chosen era is early 1900s, which is why you see so many wooden passenger cars and small steam engines. However, by 1910, by World War I, the Pennsylvania Railroad had electrified its New Jersey commuter lines to Atlantic City, and therefore I have a set of commuter trains which are kit bashed, which will be running the commuter operations. I have laid my track to what is called FS 160 standards. This is all code 40, hand laid. The wheel standards are more exact than standard N-scale wheels. The problem with this, of course, is that N-scale equipment will not run on this layout. As you can see, the gap between the point rails is extremely fine, but with the using finer scale wheels, they are able to roll through that without any difficulty. This is a close-up shot of the points in one of my 3-way switches. This would be basically impossible to build without using code 40 rail and the fine scale 160 standards. As you can see, the wheel flanges are much thinner than standard N-scale wheels, and the back-to-back dimension is much wider. That enables the wheels to go through these switches with their extremely narrow flangeways, which look much more realistic than normal N-scale track. That is also what enabled me to build this scissors crossover with the closing points in the central diamond. I've used a variety of gauges and jigs to build my turnouts. At the top left is a piece of aluminum which is cut and filed to exactly 9mm wide. Below that are 2 little circular things, those buttons. Those were turned on my Unimat lathe to be 9mm in diameter. To the right is a triangular gauge which I bought years ago from Western Railcraft, And to its right is another one that I made myself, which amazingly enough turned out to be accurate. Below that is a standard NMRA gauge, track gauge with standards. However, I thinned the points, the prongs at the top to go with the narrower flangeways of the fine scale 160 standards. On the far right is a roller gauge which I made on my lathe also, which helps keep the tracks parallel and in gauge.